and welcome to Your Choice 2020 General Election coverage on HOMTV. I'm Janelle James, and joining us for this candidate interview is George Platsis, Republican candidate for Ingham County Prosecuting Attorney. Thank you so much for joining us today. At this time, we would like to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to our viewers.
Well, I am George Platsis, and I'd like to answer the first question you sent me, which was my professional background and what makes me an ideal candidate for prosecutor. I have my answer ready to go.
Okay, well, thank you. We can get started with question number 1. Explain how your education and professional background make you an ideal candidate for county prosecutor.
I'm a veteran who understands the importance of discipline and the rule of law. I am educated in history, philosophy, law, and science. I'm an Orthodox Christian. I believe in individual freedom, individual responsibility, and individual redemption. I believe in republicanism in the Constitution of the United States. Article 4, Section 4 says, and I quote, "The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government." End of quote. Republicanism is not socialism, a dictatorship of oligarchs and the intelligentsia. Republicanism is not communism, a dictatorship of the proletariat, that is, mob rule. Republicanism is not a rule by groupthink or by one-party line of ideas. Republicanism is mixed government with a separation of powers and checks and balances. As prosecutor, I will follow sentencing guidelines, especially in capital cases, that defer to the legislature, courts, parole boards, and governor regarding compassionate relief from criminal conduct.
Question number 2. Describe your greatest adversity or failure in the courtroom and how you overcame it.
Well, law practice certainly involves adversity, but the one case I've selected involved a client who was a restaurant owner who was sued for telling his waitress she could not return to work until she tested free from HIV and AIDS. She did not return to work, but instead retained the ACLU to sue for discrimination. My client acted correctly. That is to say, in today's lingo, he followed the science and applied common sense, obviously without discriminatory intent. The trial court entered judgment against my client twice. The Court of Appeals affirmed the judgment twice. The Michigan Supreme Court, on second and final appeal, reversed the judgment of the trial court. That case took over 7 years to litigate and resolve and completely exhausted my client's retainer fee.
Question number 3. What do you think are the top 2 services or assistance programs the prosecutor's office offers that needs the most attention to provide the biggest benefit for residents? How do you plan to enhance those services?
Well, I would defer to the current practices in the office. I will use some form of broken windows policy effective in New York City. That interaction with police officers will enhance community safety while enforcing the rule of law. Petty crimes will be recognized, discouraged, and prosecuted wherever necessary.
Question number 4. In light of recent events surrounding police brutality and demonstrations across the country, what is your stance on police reform in Ingham County and the state of Michigan?
Well, the fourth question asks how I'd enhance those services of the office, and I just wanted to have this brief sentence. I would encourage schools to educate children in civics the meaning of republicanism and the benefits of discipline and cooperation with police. In light of recent events, my opinion is that problems would be minimized when youngsters stay away from police. It is common sense to follow commands of officers, even when they decide to arrest you for disorderly conduct, mayhem, violation of law, or court restraining orders. Athletes don't attack referees when they call penalties. Citizens should not attack police when lawlessness is discovered. It is unfair to saddle police with the responsibility of correcting long-standing failures in education, entertainment, and media culture. I'm reminded of the nursery rhyme of Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty together again.
The question you just answered was the second part of question number 3. I would like to move on to question number 4, which is, in light of recent events surrounding police brutality and demonstrations across the country, what is your stance on police reform in Ingham County and the state of Michigan?
I have a different question, but let me see. Please comment on how you believe local law enforcement agencies should approach new and continued diversity, equity, and inclusion. Did I miss it?
That's question number 5. We can move on to that question if you please.
Well, I'm sorry, my previous comments are answers to question. I have it number 5. Want me to repeat it?
Do you have answers for question number 5?
I do. And it began, problems are minimized when the youngsters stay away from police. It is common sense to follow commands of officers, even when they decide to arrest you for disorderly conduct, mayhem, violation of law, or court restraining orders. Athletes don't attack referees when they call penalties. Citizens should not attack police when lawlessness is discovered. It is unfair to saddle police with the responsibility of correcting long-standing failures in education, entertainment, and media culture. I'm reminded of the nursery rhyme of Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty together again.
Question number 6. What is your approach to addressing major topics of concern in Ingham County, including but not limited to human trafficking, sexual assault and domestic violence, the opioid epidemic, and gun violence?
I think you jumped ahead again. I have the question, please comment on how you believe law enforcement agencies should approach new and continued diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts.
I'm sorry, I thought you said that was your answer. That was your answer, the quote that you included about Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah, that's an answer to number 5. Now on to 6.
Is that the answer for number 5?
Yes. Humpty
Okay.
Dumpty is the answer to number 5.
Okay, now we're on question number 6. I'll repeat it. What is your approach to addressing major topics of concern in Ingham County, including but not limited to human trafficking, sexual assault and domestic violence, the opioid epidemic, and gun violence?
Well, I have the next question as, please comment on how you believe local law enforcement agencies should approach new and continued diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts.
I'm sorry, but I believe you already answered that question with your quote about Humpty Dumpty. Is that true?
No, it's not true. That was part of 5.
That is question number 5. Question number 5 is, please comment on how you believe local law enforcement agencies should improve new or continued diversity, equity, inclusion efforts? That's question number 5.
Okay, I have that as number 6, but here's the answer to 6, my numeration. My immigrant parents came to America willingly, and as Europeans, they adhered to the adage, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Thus, they learned to speak English on their own, put their own culture on hold very early on, and did not become public charges. America did not have welfare programs or medical insurance, public or private, in 1929 when Mother arrived. My mother went to high school to earn her diploma at the age of 38. She died of cancer at 41 before completing her first semester at Western Michigan University. Granted, she was an intelligent, caring, productive woman, and I realize there are people who cannot care for themselves, are not employable, and are so damaged in childhood that they're incapable of staying out of trouble. However, it's not the responsibility of the police or prosecutors to address, cure, or mitigate their problems. Number 7 begins, what's your approach to addressing?
That is number 6, but I will ask you that question again. Question number 6. What is your approach to addressing major topics of concern in Ingham County, including but not limited to human trafficking, sexual assault and domestic violence, the opioid epidemic, and gun violence?
Well, I will enforce relevant laws and actively lend police support to protective court orders. Again, not every social ill can be addressed by written laws or law enforcement. Life is simply too complex and often dictated by facts of nature, dysfunctional families, and fake traditions to be cured by law. I commend the public to understand the message of the following books. The first is 12 Rules for Life, authored by Jordan Peterson, a clinical psychologist and philosopher. The message is hierarchies are a rule of life. The second book is by Theodore Dalrymple, English physician and psychiatrist. The title is Life at the Bottom. The message, dysfunctional behavior is fostered by the intelligentsia. And then the final book worth reading is by Candace Owens, a conservative Black American author. The title, Blackout. Her message, people behave in so many ways totally unrelated to racism. Personal redemption requires people to observe the ancient admonition of know thyself. Personal redemption cannot begin, for example, until the alcoholic admits that he's an alcoholic, and until the Christian acknowledges by nature he is a sinner.
Question number 7. What is your opinion on the quality of youth correctional programs and juvenile justice in Ingham County?
On that issue, I would need more information, and I would simply refer everyone to Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life.
Question number 9. What improvements, if any, would you like to make involving mental health cases and resources?
I would advise a return to the long-standing traditions of cultures that have proven track records of success, like religious and moral teachings, natural God-given rights, institutions of marriage, attentive child rearing, obligations to your fellow man, and the like. I commend and recommend the poem by Rudyard Kipling entitled The Gods of the Copybook Headings, written in 1919 at the beginning of the progressive era, and praising repetitious work habits like using the Old English copybooks. The copybooks taught moral dictates, spelling, good handwriting, and repetitious hand-eye coordination. In fact, recent science suggests that simple handwriting exercises alone enhance mental development in children.
Question number 9. What do you believe are the biggest challenges facing the prosecutor's office right now and in the future?
Well, I believe the principal problem is the ongoing lawlessness and the lawlessness and insurrection promised in the confusion of the current electoral process, where unsolicited mail-in ballots and flag and rigged recounts pose a problem. Democrats rarely accept the judgment of voters, and I expect there to be violence here in Ingham County. Repeated failure of governments to act quickly against those who oppose good order, suppress free speech, encourage safe spaces, demand resegregation of America, and encourage massive groupthink in education, entertainment, and news media are the source of future problems to come.
Our final question, question number 10. What will be your top 2 priorities if elected as county prosecutor?
I would maintain and enforce republicanism, Article 4, Section 4, and I would enhance respect in the community for law enforcement.
At this time, we have finished the standard list of questions with George Platsis, Republican candidate for Ingham County Prosecuting Attorney. We have about 8 minutes remaining. Would you be open to a couple follow-up questions, or we can discuss any topic of your choosing?
Sure, go ahead.
My first follow-up question is in regard to mental health cases. You mentioned that handwriting improves the development in children, but what do you say to children who are born with certain conditions that traditional school learning contradicts their ability to develop?
Well, I think special education teachers and people, experts in that area, are obviously important and should be used. There are 2 incidents when I substitute taught for a brief number of years, which alarmed me. One was, it involved a young Black boy, and this must have been in the 10th or 11th grade, I don't recall. And he was working very diligently on the assignment for the day. And 3 other Black boys came up to him and said, "What are you working so hard? Why are you acting white?" And I think that was detrimental to the boy, and it's detrimental to the 3 boys that made the suggestion that working hard in school is acting white. The second incident involved, and let me think. Again, it was in the classroom, but and I can't remember what it is, so we'll have to move on. What's the next question?
That is all I have for you. With the few minutes remaining, would you like to give a closing statement?
No, I think I said it all. I wanted to emphasize that reading the 3 books I mentioned would be very helpful, and people should become familiar with commentators like Candace Owen and Dar Wimple, and of course, Jordan Peterson. Peterson is a remarkable clinical psychologist with terrific insights into human behavior.
Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you for watching this candidate interview with George Platsis, Republican candidate for Ingham County Prosecuting Attorney. I'm Janelle James, inviting you to watch live General Election Night coverage on Tuesday, November 3rd, right here on HOMTV. Thanks for watching.